What's up? Welcome back. I'm still doing Oscar movies because it's Oscar season. These are ones that I haven't seen before, or in the case of Vanilla Sky, the one I only saw once, didn't like, and revisited. Uh, this is Amistad. Eh, I never saw Amistad until just now. Well, not just now. I marinated on it for a minute, and then I decided to do a review. Um, it's nominated for 4 Academy Awards, including Best Supporting Actor for Anthony Hopkins, Best Cinematography, Best Costume Design for Ruth Carter. Oh my God. And Best Score for John Williams. Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? I didn't know they had these people behind this film. I was like, when I heard 4 nominations, I was like, this Spielberg. You know, I should have assumed John Williams wrote the score to Spielberg's film. I didn't really know this was a John Williams score. To be honest, I don't really like it that much, but we're going to get into that. Um, I saw this with audio description from Descriptive Video Service, so kudos. Thanks to the team at Descriptive Video Service for providing audio description to Amistad for educational purposes, and so that I guess kids can learn about Le Amistad. Is that what the ship is called? Le Amistad. Um, for the rest of you, we're going deep. We're gonna go deep down into white savior territory. Corky, we go white saviors everywhere. This film is deep in white saviors, and it's weird how if I'd seen this film when it was released, I wouldn't have thought about that. First of all, I would have been like a teenager, like mid-teens, right? Not really something I think about in my teen years. Um, but it's also like a completely different time period. Now it's like one of those things that you see and now you can't unsee it. And I'm like, wow, God, there are a lot of white people in this film saving these black people. Um, but it is evocative of that time period. You know, it is like, who else would have done that? They have Morgan Freeman in there as um Johnson. I forgot his first name. I'm sorry. The probably a real real person too, since they actually tie him to an actual newspaper that he prints, an abolitionist paper. So totally a real person. I totally just missed this guy's name altogether. Um, but they do have Morgan Freeman in there, and to I guess balance out the whiteness of the savior cast. Um, yeah, this is it's a bitch of a cast too. Some people that I haven't really seen or heard from in a while, like Nigel Hawthorne. People that passed away, like Pete Postlethwaite. Um, yeah, Anna Paquin is playing the Queen of Spain. I'm gonna let you marinate on that one for a little while. Queen Isabel of Spain, Anna Paquin. Yeah. So John Ortiz pops up in here, and you know who else is in this film? I shit you not. Chiwetel Ejiofor. He's got a small role. He's got lines. I the funny thing is I didn't notice this guy's career until way later. I had no idea he was acting in the 90s. I just I he popped into my head later in life, and I was like, oh, there's Chiwetel Ejiofor. I need to know that guy's name. I did not know he was in Amistad until I looked him up on IMDb. He didn't even sound like him. He was just like, I was like, I don't know who this guy is. Random, thanks, character actor. Oh, it's Chiwetel Ejiofor. Wow. Okay. Um, so he's in this. Uh, but this is, of course, the main cast is like Jaimin Hansu, Matthew McConaughey, I already said Morgan Freeman, and the Academy Award nominee, Anthony Hopkins. Good Lord. Of course, Anthony Hopkins was the takeaway from this film. Um, that man can get an Oscar nomination for sitting on a rock, just looking really like pondering. I'm pondering now. Yes. I It's not Steven Spielberg's best film, but I could say that about a lot of films. I think Steven Spielberg's a great director, and I think there are things about this film that are great. Actually, he starts off really pretty strong. I'm gonna say he starts off really pretty strong here. I liked the stuff. I wish he would have gone darker with it, actually. If anything, it feels like he was trying to make a film that could be shown to kids in classes. Like, I don't want it to be too much for people, so we're gonna keep it kind of like a little low key. Uh, but I mean, the reality of this was a completely shit situation. Like, this is all over the place. Just there's a boat. They're transporting slaves. People are dead. They have to like revolt and take over the boat, so they kill their captors and everything. And there's a lot that happens here, and um, I feel like it was kind of PG-13 a little bit. But at least through this, we are introduced to Jaimin Hansu. This film did give us Jaimin Hansu in a big way. He was nominated for a Golden Globe. He also picked up a lot of like breakthrough performer nominations that year. It's amazing that he didn't get an Oscar nomination. Anthony Hopkins did, but that's a conversation for another day. We're gonna put that one in a box. We're gonna ship that away. I'm gonna come back around to that later on. Jaimin Hansu plays sort of like the main slave or captured individual on this boat. Um, they all speak their own language, and what's interesting is that the audio description in the beginning doesn't translate it. So everything is done through actions. Everything is done through um, it's like having to act. I'm sure this is a real language, but it feels like you're in an improv exercise where you're just told you can't use real words, but you have to convey everything through your emotions, through your physical appearance, through everything like that. And that's what it feels like, because we don't know what anybody's saying. I don't think anybody actually speaks this language. I don't think there was anybody in the theaters that was like, "Yes, I fluently speak this. Thank you. I didn't need subtitles or dubbing or anything like that. I completely understand everything you're saying." Um, no, it feels like we first saw like the Dothraki, and we have no idea what they're saying, but like there's something about Jason Momoa's presence that's just like fuck. And you kind of get that out of Jaimin Hansu. It's just there's something about him, even though you don't know, you're not really sure what he's saying. It's just in how he says it, and the actions that he takes. But eventually, they the Spaniards that they left alive to try to that they thought would navigate them home for some reason, uh, did not navigate them home, and instead navigated them to America, where when they get closer, they get captured by like another ship and overtaken, and then all of these slaves end up standing trial. Uh, and it's like a property thing, and everybody's making claims on them. Everybody and their mother, the people who found the ship and brought it in and recaptured all the slaves. They want it. The white plantation people are like, free slaves? What? There's a ship of just slaves walking around. So they're trying to make a claim. The Spaniards, one of them is John Ortiz. They're trying to make a claim, and they have the backing of Queen Isabel, who is writing letters, and there's just like really weird shit too. Just horrifying. Like, we cannot allow these Africans to be free, and it's like they are free until you go down there and take them. What the fuck are you talking about? Stop saying asinine shit. You're the queen of a fucking kingdom. Stop saying dumb shit. Anyway. And this is probably I would imagine that's a historically accurate letter. So, fuck Queen Isabel, right? Anyway, yeah, this is a really weird film. But what I found was the most weird. I actually liked Matthew McConaughey in this. I got what he was trying to do. It's the same sort of thing he did in Time to Kill. It's weird that he actually works as lawyers with his thing. He was also like the Lincoln lawyer. It's amazing how many times he's been cast like this kind of like stoner Texan guy keeps getting cast as lawyers. Anyway, um, Anthony Hopkins in this film. The fuck is up with the score? Like, what, is there like a John Quincy Adams theme? Like, if I ask my like my little Echo device here to play, can you play the John Quincy Adams theme from Amistad? Why does the whole movie change every time Anthony Hopkins is on screen? Like, if you listen to the score, it's always just like it's like turns into this like bright, cheery, like hopeful. It's just sort of like every time he's on screen, it's just like and then the score goes back to being like the rest of the film, but then it's like Anthony Hopkins is here, and we're like, "Da, da, 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 da." It just feels like I don't understand it. I don't get it at all. I don't know why. What are we doing here? Like, was this film crafted to get out Anthony Hopkins an Oscar? Because that is not what the takeaway for this film should be. This film should have been crafted to just tell the story as is, with the least amount of like uh of glories to the white saviors. Yes, there had to be white saviors at this time because realistically nobody was ever going to let a black lawyer argue these cases, especially in front of the Supreme Court in this time period when we were pre-Civil War. There's a debate about, abolition versus slavery, and I'm surprised Morgan Freeman walks around and like nobody just attacks him, or there are no racial slurs. He just walks around like his life is just, he's like, I was born in Georgia, and there's a history of him being like a former slave who now runs this paper, right? So he knows what shit is, and he just is like, he's walking around and he just casually knows a former president. It's all very interesting, but the emphasis here on the need for the white savior, and some of the other people that come in, like Stellan Skarsgård, is in this also as, I would say, part of the white savior group, is a bit much, and it's a little bit noticeable. But they're also the villains are also white. This film is not kind to Martin Van Buren at all, I would say, and some of the people that he had in his presidency. So if you have always sort of wondered about some of these other presidents that we don't always teach you about, and you're ever just like, what did Martin Van Buren do? Not great. Not great. Although this film does make a case for John Quincy Adams being a delight. Although he even admits that at the beginning that he doesn't want to get in the middle of the abolitionist versus the slave movement. He's like, oh no, no, I don't have a stance on that. So they have to like work him up to this. And so I'm not even sure this film makes a case for John Quincy Adams. I don't know really what's happening here with the thing, but there are way too many white people that are stealing the focus from Jaimin Hansu, and for some reason he didn't get an Oscar nomination, and that's what I'm getting down to here is what was the takeaway here? Because I did not walk away from this film going, my God, if we don't nominate Anthony Hopkins for this film, or damn, why wasn't Matthew McConaughey nominated? I was like, how did Jaimin Hansu not get a nomination for this film? Yeah, he's the lead. It kind of feels like it, but this film also feels like it's an ensemble. There could have been a case for sliding him into supporting if you needed to. He is the lead, but I mean, this film also does bounce around, and the thing is that I usually look at leads as being like, who do we follow? Like, without fail. Like, who's the camera always follow? And it follows him when it's in the group of the Africans. But a lot of times it also follows, like, Matthew McConaughey. Like, he goes off and does his own thing. Or it follows Morgan Freeman doing his own thing. Or it follows Anthony Hopkins. So, I mean, like, it literally goes off in other directions. To check on the other characters and see what they're up to. This does feel more like an ensemble movie where you could have run Jaimin in supporting and maybe not been so hardcore about Anthony Hopkins. But anyway, I guess he'll just be happy with the Golden Globe nomination he got for this. Luckily, he eventually was Oscar nominated. I have mixed feelings about this. I'm glad the story was told. I'm glad that there is some sort of reference out there that we can point to, that people can watch this and learn a little bit more. I did not know. Nobody ever taught me about Amistad and the ship in school. And Martin Van Buren very much was one of those presidents that you just kind of don't have time to teach your kids about. So there are a lot of upsides to this film. It is Steven Spielberg, so there's really only just so shitty it can be. Even when his films aren't great, they're still not bad. Like, I have a really hard time thinking, like, what film did he direct that was bad? I didn't like Ready Player One, but that was because I read the book. If I hadn't read the book, I would probably have a completely different opinion on the film. So, um, yeah, I don't know, but I'm not super excited about this. I'm glad it was left out of the Best Picture race. I can tell you that, and especially at a time where we only had 5 nominees, I would have been like, "This is not a Best Picture nominee." But I do think Jaimin Hansu, kudos to Ruth Carter for her costume design nomination. I don't know what the costumes look like, but I do know Ruth Carter has done costume designs that have been amazing before, so I'm assuming the costumes were on point. I disagree with the score nomination. I know it's John Williams, and we just do it because we do it, but I wouldn't have done it. Audio description was nice. They do eventually start translating the African dialogue, so you can actually understand what it is that the people are saying, and convey back and forth. Around the same time, they get a translator, which is Chiwetel Ejiofor, by the way. Chiwetel Ejiofor. So, yeah, John Hansu is the reason to watch this film. I would still recommend it because there's a reason. There's a performance here. There's an actor who made his debut. And there's a reason why Jaimin Hansu is still around today to do shitty films like Shazam! Fury of the Gods. It's like, where do you need me, guys? Yeah, so, but he is a tremendous actor, and I think we forget that far too much, and we need to watch more of his films where he actually is amazing, and less of these shitty films where they just need an African guy to be here for reasons like Shazam. Anyway, I'm gonna give Amistad a B. It still is directed by Spielberg. There's only just how crappy it's going to be, but man, I was not a fan of the score, and I don't know why Anthony Hopkins has an Oscar nomination for that speech at the end. Please, Jaimin Hansu has the whole film. Anthony Hopkins has one speech. Like, it's just not even it's not even the same thing. It's bullshit. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'm going to continue to do some Oscar films, so please click subscribe. And I want to continue to talk about audio description. So you can go to my website, macmovieguy.com. You can follow me on X, Threads, or Instagram at macmovieguy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what is audio description, where you can watch it. And you can go to the adna.org. That's the adna.org. It'll let you know who's narrating your favorite films and television series. That's it for me today. I will watch something else and see you guys on the other side.